Hi, I'm Danger Dan Jers, the host and GM of the D&D Real Play podcast, D&D Dark. Join us on Wednesdays for an absurd, over-the-top comedy horror adventure, starring some of history's most infamous monsters.
I'm Ben Magnet. I play Mary Frankenstein, our barbarian.
I am Daniel Cruz. I am playing Imhotep the Mummy, our cleric.
I'm Jordan, and I play Larry Talbot, a lycanthropic warlock.
I am Grayson, playing Jet Griffin, the Invisible Man, the party's rogue.
I am Aaron. I play the Phantom of the Opera, our bard.
For more information, go to dndarkpodcast.com and listen to us anywhere you find podcasts.
Hey everybody, I would like to welcome you to another episode of Pop Culture Gems. This is a series where I, Davis Green, talks to amazing creators, artists, cosplayers, voice actors, and so much more. If you like the interviews we do with our terrific guests, like, follow, and subscribe to our YouTube channel, the CFG channel. We release Pop Culture Gems on all podcast services and on our main website, confreaksandgeeks.com. Today, I have not one, but two special guests on the show. One is an incredible voice actor whose career spans from my childhood, during my childhood growing up. She has voiced many anime characters throughout the years, like various Pokemon and Pokemon characters in the Pokemon series, Anna Kiyoma in Shaman King, Mokuba Kaiba in Yu-Gi-Oh!, Biscuit Kruger in Hunter x Hunter, and several more. And my other guest is a renowned storyboard artist and illustrator who's worked on many different shows like Robot Chicken, Super Mansion, and Rick and Morty, just to name a few. Together, they are the host of a new podcast called 4Kids Flashback. I would like to welcome Tara Sands and Steve Yurko to the show. How are y'all doing today?
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Doing swell.
Awesome. Awesome. I know, but no, I'm really glad y'all were able to take some time for this. I'm really hyped to kind of talk to you. Because like after I was like I love like watching random or listening to random podcasts, and I came across that, and I'm like, I do remember 4Kids Entertainment, and this so this was a really cool treat. So no, welcome y'all.
Well, it's exciting to hear that you came across the podcast. So that means what we're doing is working.
Yeah, because it's pretty niche. Yeah.
Oh yes. The more niche it is, I know. The more niche it is, it's more of a underground treasure kind of situation. But it's hey, whatever you're doing, just definitely
if you
do some
found
more.
it, we're happy. Yeah.
That's great. Well, let's get started. So I usually like to ask this, especially to all the voice acting guests I get over here, Tara. So I just want to know, what is your origin story? Like, what got you into voice acting?
So I grew up in New Jersey, not too far from New York City, and I was always doing plays and all that stuff. And then in high school, I was in a local singing competition at the Y. And I did not win. I got second place. But there was an agent there who said, "Hey, I'd like to send you on auditions." I said, "Sure, great, cool." And the first audition she sent me on was for a voiceover. And I really didn't know what that was. I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever, sure, I'll talk." It was for Wart Cream. Compound W Wart Cream, which is obviously very glamorous. And I booked the job, and I was like 16 years old or something. I had to say something like, "Ew, gross, a wart." And and my mom's like, that's a job. And, so I did the job. I loved it. Like, just the minute I put on the headphones and was in the studio, I was like, this is cool. I want to do this. So at that point, I just started auditioning for everything I could. Voiceovers were just one of them. But it's all I do now. I love it. I feel very lucky to talk a lot.
So initially you weren't you weren't planning on wanting you kind of learned into the world of voice acting itself. That's
well,
cool.
I mean, honestly, we're all actor. Like, I know it's different now. I know, like, kids grow up now, I think, in a different way watching this stuff. And I meet a lot of younger actors who were like, I've wanted to do anime, my voices my whole life. Like, we didn't grow up thinking that. We're like, we want to be an actor, and this is one aspect of being an actor. So to me, that's what this is. It's just it's another acting job, but I can wear pajamas. I'm not wearing pajamas, but I could be. Yeah.
Oh, that is a good point. Well, thank you for dressing up for the moment. This moment. All right. And Steve, also like also on your side, like, did you watch, or what was it that did you watch or see something that inspired you to become a storyboard artist?
I've always been watching cartoons since way back, as far as I can remember. I grew up in front of a television, for better or for worse. Like, I could distinctly remember at a young age just watching, Disney animated films. I wouldn't say that that was what inspired me to be a storyboard artist. I think I just always wanted to be an artist and didn't quite have a clear trajectory until much later. I think I had considered maybe doing animation or going to school to learn animation, but I opted to learn comics instead. And then I had a lot of friends that were saying you should get into storyboarding. There's more opportunities for work in LA, and you could probably do this. And I was like, all right, I guess that's what I was gonna do. Funny enough, I think I was supposed to take a storyboard class in college, and then I dropped out of it to take another class instead. So you like went out of your way to not do the career that you're currently doing doing now. It wasn't that I didn't want to take the class. I think there was just another class came about, and I just had some friends like, you should take this class. This teacher's great. And I'm thankful for that, because I'm still on pretty good terms with that teacher to this day. So. Oh, that's cool. Well, I mean, hey, you eventually got there, so I mean, it's not like I guess I didn't need that class. Yeah, I know, right? And I mean, and I know, like, after like watching and listening to you and your other podcasts that you've done, like, I know that you're a big One Piece fan, and a little bit. Yeah, just a smidge, do you have a favorite character, or do you have a favorite story arc? Oh yeah, absolutely. Favorite character is Sanji. He's been since, I think since like 2004. He's still my favorite character. Favorite story arc is Water 7. Hands down. Wait, and I 7? Think, yeah. Oh, is that the one with Frankie? Yes. Yeah. Okay. There's another favorite, but like, it's almost like sometimes you could tell like when someone got into the series when they tell you their favorite arc, but that's like Water 7's a pretty, that's an uncontroversial answer. I think a lot of people will tell you that arc is their favorite, but really, yeah, that was like the current arc when I was really getting into the series in Japan. I mean, here in the States, it was much different.
He prefers the 4Kids version of One Piece, though. He won't.
I want that off the record. That's not coming from me.
Yeah.
Seven chest.
He just walks around singing the rap. Yeah.
The rap. Hey, the rap is iconic. You gotta always look. I mean, it's always better. I always love it. I love that. I will not deny it's catchy. It's
See, at least I can get him to say that.
Well, like one of my favorite arcs. It's actually kind of funny because someone actually dared me to watch it, because I was really against watching One Piece, because I was like, this is way too many episodes. This is just like I just can't do this. And I sat down one day and I just did, like, I think all the way up to after the prison one arc where you have to try to save Ace or something. Yeah, Impel Down. So you're about. Yeah. Well, like, no, I'm at Whole Cake Island now. But just finished. At that point, you only had about maybe like 400, 500 episodes. Jesus, like, okay, I will say this. I am not a hardcore One Piece fan, but I do say, you know what, once you put in time in it, you just got to see it through at this point.
It's a full-time commitment, I would say. It is a full-time commitment.
Yeah. My favorite though was CP9. I did like CP9. Was my favorite one with Puma. Or Puma Lucci or whatever. So that was
Lucci.
Yeah, that was one of my favorites. But that's cool. Mm-hmm. Like I said earlier, y'all recently released a new podcast called 4Kids Podcast, and just want to have time to say, like, what is the podcast fully about, in y'all's words?
Well, so I've always wanted to sort of tell the story. I've worked at 4Kids for many years back in the late 90s, early 2000s, and as a voice actor. And now when I do convention appearances, and I get asked just tons of questions about 4Kids that I do not have the answers to. Or I get thanked for, like, thank you for my childhood. It's something I hear a lot. And I want to say, no, it wasn't me. It was all these other people who contributed to these shows, like the behind the scenes people that don't get to go to these conventions and have that. It's such an amazing experience to meet the fans of these shows. Or sometimes I get yelled at for the bad stuff that 4Kids does. And I say, don't yell at me. I'll tell you who to yell at. So I was like, someone's got to tell that there's an oral history of this company there that no one's really told. So I was like, you know what, it's got to be now, because our memories are only getting worse. So I connected with a podcast company called Maji Media, and I spoke with Zach, and I was like, Zach, I want to do this, but I need a co-host who knows a lot more about anime than I do and who would be fun to do this with. And he introduced me to Steve, and it worked out great. I mean, you can tell them how you fit into it, but he was like, we're coming at it from such different sides that it really makes sense.
Oh yeah.
Should I say how the show was pitched to me, or at least?
Oh, I would love to know how the show was pitched to you. Yes,
I would too. Wait, what? Okay.
Yeah, like what Tara said was true, but then I was told, it's like, you're the target audience for this.
Well, you are.
And I was like, because I'm an anime fan. I wouldn't say I'm the most experienced anime fan or the most knowledgeable. There's tons of it. I will often get, it's a running gag that I have not seen many anime, but I have like this, I guess, investment with the dubbing side of it, and with 4Kids as well. Controversy aside, like, I was still very familiar with a lot of like the actors and a lot of the dubs that were produced there, and I still I remember them pretty well.
Well, wait a second. Let's also say so no, Steve was like the right age for a lot of this stuff. Like, he at first was like, they would have art contests at 4Kids, and I didn't find out from him till recently that he actually submitted artwork and was a finalist for some of the 4Kids. Yeah, which is awesome. And also, he was one of the angry teenagers on the message boards writing about 4Kids, which is awesome, because again, we have different questions we want answered,
No offense, Steve, but it sounds like you are the target audience.
Yeah, no, it's most kids went and just like moved on with their lives and cared about other things. But I was always just like, remember how this one character sounded, or remember this one like voice actor? They were great. Or remember this weird edit? Yeah, it's
a lot of why'd they do that? Yeah, it's a lot of that.
Yeah, like that's the thing, and like even people have like come to like us like Maji Media, they're like, oh, you should talk about all these other dubs, and I'm like, well, like maybe, but like it was already like there's so many things we're not gonna know why some changes were made. And Tara came along, and I'm like, this is our best chance. Like, this is our
well, I at least have the email addresses. I mean, that's the most helpful part of it all.
So like, originally, oh no, I'm sorry, but I was just wondering. So originally, the idea was your idea, was your idea that you pitched out, and then and then it just kind of slowly gemmed and merged the two of you together.
Yeah, we. I mean, early episodes, like, our banter's probably awkward, like because we were
Yeah.
literally just getting to know each other.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, as soon as it was like it was decided that we were doing this, it kind of quickly, we just like quickly jumped right into it. We were because a lot of our interviews, well, all our interviews are pre-recorded, but we were starting off really quick, and we kind of just I
had to take advantage.
Wow.
It was during the strike, and Steve was not working at the time because of that.
Right.
So I was like, let's cram as many in as we can right now, because now his schedule is a little bit bananas. So
now it's starting to catch up. Now now you're trying to catch up with no work. Well, that's good. That's cool, man. That is crazy. But to be fair though, it's like I think it's interesting because 4Kids is an enigma to me, because like, don't get me wrong, like it's a very interesting aspect of how 4Kids ran as a company overall, like because of like how bad they butchered the shows that they did own, but yet they were at one point in time, they were really, they were just explosive. There was just a ton of different kinds of shows that they were just pushing out, and it was also introducing more and more anime to the States faster than what we would than no other, because I think the other opposition was Funimation, but that was like in its infantile state too. So
right.
No, so I think this is a perfect podcast to be like, what the heck, how did all this work? Very cool. And I'm just wondering though too, I'm like I've listened to your podcast, and I've been loving like the banter. I love the interviews that you've been doing, that y'all been getting to as well in it. But like, what made you like want to create the podcast specifically about 4Kids Entertainment?
Well, the truth is I wanted to learn how to produce a podcast. It was just something I wanted to learn how that skill. And that's been for a few years. But I did not want to do a podcast that had been done a million times. So until I was set on what I wanted to do, I refused to make a podcast, because listen, who doesn't have a podcast right now?
Right.
So, and at first I kind of wanted to I wanted a more scandalous version of this podcast. And then I thought, oh, what if I just do the actors? And then I realized, wait a second, it's all I need to do is interview everybody I possibly can who worked there, because people and humans are interesting regardless. Like, there's something interesting about everybody, even if their specific 4Kids story is not. If you're good at your job, and if I do enough research and Steve does enough research and we look something up, we can there's like one of the first guys we interviewed was raised in, I can't remember, but there was a religious aspect to it. And I thought, oh my God, I could do a whole hour on this. I better get back to 4Kids. So I'm enjoying just talking to people more, and we get back to the 4Kids of it all, but the people we've interviewed have been awesome. And my biggest regret is not knowing them better when I worked there. So that's been really interesting to me.
No, that's cool.
I like to think there's like two different sides to the show. Because what I enjoy what Tara brings is like, this is Tara talking with her peers, and they're sharing their experiences, like sharing stories, sharing their like time in New York. And I love that. And as a New Yorker too, I really enjoy that aspect. But then I come in as the nerd and then ask them like, what was the deal with this? Or do you know whose decision this was? Or do you remember? So there's balance there.
Yeah.
And I don't know. And also, like, I try my best not to just ask like the most convention like questions you would hear in a panel. My excitement for the show is like, cool. I want there to be like some authentic stories from working there, and some answers, because I think like people on the internet love to just theorize or spread a lot of misinformation. And I thought this would be, I always thought like, this is a good thing. Like this should be out there. We're
trying to set the record straight. Unfortunately, it's many years later, so memory isn't perfect, but we're trying. Yeah.
Oh, hey, you do whatever you can, and and I definitely understand the struggle on trying to not have the simple convention questions. So I definitely understand the struggle is definitely real on that. But you, Tara, like, how was your personal experience working with 4Kids?
I loved the work itself. I mean, listen, I loved doing fun voices, but we worked quickly, and we didn't always know what was going on. Like we would just jump to we didn't get scripts ahead of time. We would just jump to our lines in the show. And so I felt like I didn't really know what was going on there other than my lines.
Wait, you didn't get scripts ahead of time? Like,
no, we still don't.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
No.
Oh, man.
Yeah, so we were very, very dependent on the directors, but often, the directors would fill you in a little bit, but you were rush. Time was money. Listen, at the end of the day, 4Kids was a for-profit company. That comes up a lot in our interviews. Like, time was money, and we felt that. I mean, you'll hear in some of our interviews like them trying to cut back on our rates, and we were part of this. Like, it was a frustrating place to work in that we knew how successful certain things were, but we were not necessarily treated as part of the project. Everyone was nice enough to us, but
yeah. When you're saying we, were you talking about, like, are you referring to, like, the voice actors and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So like how bad was the discrepancy between like the, like, I mean, don't want to numbers, but like, was it astronomically bad, or was it just like, what would you compare it to?
I mean, dubbing rates historically have not been great in general. That's changed a little. I mean, again, that's a major other conversation. But historically, because anime was not so successful for many years, and I mean, Pokemon really changed the game, but dubbing rates did not catch up till recently. So, which is such a bummer. I mean, and now again, it's getting so much more respect than it used to, which is so much fun to see. It's a shame that it wasn't then, but I love seeing the conventions have been awesome for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
But again, I loved my job there. I loved going to work there. Some of my best friends are some of the people I worked with and who were the directors and actors, and but I did not know what was going on at the company. I did not know they were making all these changes to the anime. Again, it was because of standards and practices and because the shows were for children, but I didn't know people hated us. I didn't know, the message board. So this has been a major education for me, which is cool. I don't have a big ego about it. So I can handle it.
So when the times when you realize that people were just like was making fun of some of the dubs, like, I mean Pokemon was probably not much of I don't think there was not a lot of
jelly
hate on
aside
that.
from jelly donuts, yeah.
But like Yu-Gi-Oh, I think would probably be one that would be a big one. I would say that was kind of starting up. Like, when did you kind of realize that there was actually a pool of people hating the dubs over the like that kind
like
of,
a few years ago?
Like, really, that recent?
Yeah. Well, wait, it didn't really enter, honestly, it didn't really enter my life until I was doing conventions, or like I'd see like a joke about 4Kids, and also the changes they were making were because for standards and practices. It wasn't like 4Kids was like, we want to take out the blood. They had to, or they would have been sued. So I didn't know that people were angry about it. I just figured people, they get that they can't do this. And then, they tried to remedy, Steve knows all about this, like they tried to remedy that a little bit by putting out uncut versions, but that didn't necessarily take off. But it's just funny when they would yell at me, because I was like, you realize I had nothing to do with that.
I read the script and that was it. I wasn't like the part of the decision-making room of like, hey, let's put darts instead of arrows.
I didn't decide that Mokuba was going to get kidnapped 27 times. Like, I didn't. I was just as surprised as you were. Yeah.
But Tara, you've mentioned this before, like how when you moved to LA and you were doing voice work in LA for different studios, and you noticed there was quite a different approach as you were used to in New York.
Yeah, in that, and maybe it's just in the way they worked, but like 4Kids often didn't get episodes ahead of time, so it wasn't treated as seriously because often we didn't know what was going on. In LA, there was like a different reverence for dubbing, and maybe that's simply because they had more information. I don't really know why it was so different. But
like when you're saying like they didn't have episodes ahead of time, are we talking about like the localization didn't do the full translations of the episodes before they and then they were like, like hot off the plate, like off the press. Here you go. There you. It's like deal with it kind of thing.
We were getting faxed pages of Pokemon as we recorded.
It's insane. That is insane.
I mean, it changed. It did change, but it was often because it would come in from Japan, and sometimes, I mean, we interviewed someone yesterday actually, who was the producer of Yu-Gi-Oh, and he said that sometimes it was that they would ask their Japanese counterparts, like, what's coming up, so they could know, like, if someone was going to turn into a bad guy, like how to write those kinds of things. Sometimes they weren't told because the Japanese team wanted to keep it a secret. Sometimes it was because the Japanese team didn't know yet where it was going. So again, and manga, you know, I've been kind of bummed that more people at 4Kids weren't reading the manga ahead of time. But the truth is maybe that wouldn't have necessarily helped, since there are often so many changes from the manga. So that might have even sent them down the wrong path. But it is funny because we haven't run into any 4Kids employees who were like really anime fans before they started working there. And I'm curious to find one that was like, I think that would be an interesting interview.
Right. Well, I mean, to be fair though, like I said, like 4Kids, like literally this is the start of the ramp up of anime. So y'all were kind of setting the building blocks of that, you know, to kind of get to that point. So
I would refer to it as like the first anime bubble of like the early 2000s.
It really is.
Across the board.
Because like fundamentally, like when Toonami decided when they created that anime block with like Gundam Wing and Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that. That was like, oh, cool. Then you had then they introduced some new ones like with like Tenchi Muyo and Outlaw Star and things like that. They were like, we were starting to get a little bit of the taste, but
it was like revolutionary. Yeah, that wasn't done. Yeah.
Big time. But then when 4Kids decided to say, okay, we're going to bring Pokemon, and then we didn't know what Pokemon, I mean, I'm pretty sure no one knew what Pokemon was when that came out.
No one did. No, not when it was airing at like 6:30 in the morning for me. And
6:30 in the morning. Wow, that's a terrible time.
They got that.
It was syndication.
Yeah.
That's how it started, and it worked because
that is amazing.
Like a month later, I think the game was out and people knew.
Oh yeah. So. You're totally right, because like, I mean, then all of a sudden it was like, then you had the other shows like Digimon and all these other ones that were coming in, or like trying to not want to copy from Pokemon, but they were rather like, they knew that was successul, so they thought others were going to be successful to it.
Oh yeah.
Well, there's something about the artwork, like to go back to like Steve, what you do too. Like I can't draw for shit. Can I say shit? I can't draw at all. So when I see someone like Steve, or like, there's something about this artwork and there's something about these characters that draws children in, and it's that X Factor thing. And I've rarely ever seen that with any other show. Like whether it just be the cards or it's just the TV show, it's just the game, there is something about the artwork that is making, and kids who are watching didn't know it was anime. They just liked the cartoon. But they did something magical with that. And again, for all their flaws and all the crazy and whatever, they did something right with Pokemon. And the original artists really did something right with Pokemon.
Yeah, so. that's very well said. And did you ever get any input or any roles that you played while working with them? Like did they give you your 2 cents or nothing? Yeah, you're like laughing.
Well, I mean, okay, well, no, I mean the truth is,
the Japanese side.
Yeah.
From the Japanese or from the? We unfortunately never had any contact with the Japanese.
Well, not the Japanese, but more like the localization itself. Like you get to a point where, you know, you've been playing your character. I mean, you've been playing like some of these characters forever, and then you'd be like, okay, I don't feel like it's something that he or she would say.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yes, absolutely. Like things like that. Like if, you know, all of a sudden if something was written very formally, and I was like, oh no, like my character's very informal, and we often did rewrites on the fly. So it was because. Like we always knew there was a bunch of different writers on certain shows. So like we knew like, oh, this one tends to write too many words for the lip flap. This one writes too few. We're probably going to have to adjust. So because we were rewriting on the fly, it was very collaborative, but those were not like story changes. Those were just like little charactery things.
Grammar kind of thing.
Yeah, totally. But again, it did feel collaborative, which was fun. I mean, that's some of my even today, like we do rewrites on the fly, and I kind of love it, and I have to shut my mouth sometimes because I don't want to ever overstep. But
right. Well, I mean, kind of find it fun, like, man, like the way you're describing. I mean, don't get me wrong. It sounds like it's a cool environment, but at the same time, it sounds like the environment you were in was insane. Like,
well,
literally,
it was
crazy.
it was exciting. I mean, literally, like once they built their own studios, there were at least 5 or 6. I think I'm maybe misremembering. Just so much going on there. And I mean, it was a creative hub. You know, you had the music people on site, you had the artists on site. It was, as a creative, there was nothing more exciting than that. And working, I mean, we were really young. We were all in our, 20s back then. And most of the company was very young. It was, so it didn't feel, it felt crazy sometimes, but you thrive on that at that age. Now I wouldn't want to work like that, but like back then, oh my God, like, and I'd be running to auditions and I mean, it was awesome.
That's true. Okay, well, that's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Well, I mean, but then again, though, too, it's like, I'm just thinking, like, I mean, man, like, they made like Sonics, like so many different like Super Muscle, so many different ones. Yeah, Ultimate Muscle. All these different ones came at the same time, and they had different, and then just how they just kind of wired like the actors, and just to get them out on Saturday for Saturday morning. It's a miracle. I would have to say it's a flat out miracle.
Because they purchased that time slot. They purchased the Fox box. So that was I mean, if you listen to Norman Grossfeld's interview, he talks about how when that was up for sale, that time slot, all these unique circumstances led to that time slot being available. He had to fill it. There wasn't really a choice. Like, they're like, either we do this and we run, like, they hit the ground running. So he was like, we have this many hours of television to fill. That's not a job I would want, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. And you, Tara, working during the 4Kids era, and you, Steve, watching it as a kid, have two different exciting perspectives of the same company itself. And like, was there anything that you found out about 4Kids that you were surprised about learning while doing the podcast?
Steve, you definitely, I know some that Steve found out.
Oh yeah.
Like the kanji, why the kanji was changed. That was a big revelation.
I think that was like a question I always wondered while watching, like why, like even instances of English text are removed from the show, and that was revealed, I think, because often that the 4Kids produced dub, they would try pitching that to other countries. So, like, say for example, if France wanted the show, 4Kids sends them that edited version. So all I have to do is just do the French dialogue, and they don't have to worry about there being English there, despite it being like a French dub. It was meant to kind of have more worldwide appeal. That's something that's sort of, I'm trying to think of some other things.
So are we talking about like, you mean like they actually they completely changed the kanji from the animation just so?
Not just that, they would take out English.
Anytime there were written words, it was just removed completely if they could. Like there was something there was like a horse stable in some episode, and it said, I guess it must have said like something ranch. So instead of changing the different the lettering, they just put pictures of horses so that it could be used in any country, which was great because it's it was more of a long process and expense for the English team to do that, but then it could basically be like cut and paste when it went. All they had to do was the recording.
That makes sense. So it makes it would probably be overall cheaper in the long run, so they don't have to go through the same production line. That's pretty cool. Wow. That's pretty impressive. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah. I mean, but it came down to money. Like that, again, these were all financial decisions.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's, oh, wow. No, yeah, I guess it's always going to come down to money. When it comes down to that. And besides like, the obvious, Steve, like I know with One Piece, but like, are there other shows that you were, anime shows that you were a fan of while growing up?
4Kids specifically, or just in general?
Let's say in general, yeah, because 4Kids is a little bit of a stretch.
Yeah.
No offense.
I mean, I was a Shaman King fan. I was a disgruntled Shaman King fan, but I will say, like, I think like that was a series I was liking because I was reading the manga in Shonen Jump at the time, And I remember, they announced they did a newer Shaman King anime a few years ago. And I remember texting a friend of mine, and I'm like, dude, they're getting all the dub voice actors back. Because I remember, like, one of my friends, we both loved the series, and, like, we're kind of like, yeah, it's like, we wish we had an uncut dub. But we would always say, like, it's like a lot of the voices were on point. It was just, it's just like, it's more of a younger demographic dub.
Yeah.
But you mentioned Toonami. It's like I watched like a bunch of stuff on Toonami. I mean, I was like I was a Dragon Ball guy. I was a Yu Yu Hakusho guy. Like anything like Toonami and Adult Swim was like offering, I would at least watch once to see whether or not I would keep going with it. But those are like two big ones for me. And the Shonen Jump magazine, when that started coming out here in the States, was like a huge influence on me as well. But yeah, those are some of my favorites, and then like One Piece as well.
Okay, cool.
if you didn't know already.
Yeah, and Tara, I mean, I know that you may have not been into anime, but now you've been in the game long enough. Is there anything that was like in the series that might have caught your interest that you've been like, this is cool?
No, no. I'll be honest. Because I started working on it from pretty early age when it became more accessible, it feels like work to me to watch it. I start counting lip flaps. I listen to it. I can't just sit back and enjoy it. I wish I could.
Is that like that for anime, or is that like that for any cartoon or whatever?
There are very few cartoons. I mean, it's like that for an animation too. I can watch South Park. There are a few that but again, it's because those are real. It's not about the animation on that show. It's about the humor on that show. So it's like I'm not distracted because it's not supposed to be beautifully animated. Or so there's certain things I can watch, but not a ton. It's a shame. I watch stuff that's like the opposite of this. It's really weird.
No, I get it. Sometimes I need like a palate cleanser. Like I really want to get back to watching Succession. It's like I've surrounded myself with enough cartoons for the day. I gotta see some real people.
I totally understand. I totally understand. That's why I wasn't like, it's not far-fetched to even think about. I definitely understand that.
Like if you work at a pizza shop, like if you work in a pizza place, you're probably not eating pizza for dinner that often anymore. Yeah. Well, maybe that is a terrible example, but yeah, because I could eat pizza every day.
I love that pizza. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I think that.
Oh, that is funny. And I mean, in your podcast, you talk to like other voice actors and people behind the scenes who made 4Kids Grow. I mean, I hate to ask like which one, like to say which one is your favorite episode, but like I will say, which is I'll be fair. Which is the one like the person so far in the people that you've interviewed, which is the one that you found like one of the most interesting interviews that y'all have done so far?
I mean, I don't want to. Certain people there also directed and wrote and did those things. So from that aspect, it was kind of cool to hear, like someone like Ted Lewis or Darren Dunstan who had multiple jobs there. So that was fun because I just didn't know that. Or like, I mean, someone like Megan Hollingshead, who's been a close friend for so many years. I've never interviewed her. Like when we talk about our lives currently. Like I never ask her in-depth questions about her journey to voiceover because it's not what's happening today, and we're keeping up. So that's been fun. It's fun to see Steve meet my friends. Like that's been kind of neat.
Yeah, like I will say, I'll answer it like this. Definitely, like I was more familiar with a lot of the voice actors before going into the show, and it's really cool to like hear from them and like meet some of them. Because I'm not even like a lot of them do conventions, some of them don't. So sometimes it's almost like a rare opportunity to get to talk to them. But I think some of the most compelling episodes, and I hope people aren't thinking of skipping out on these ones, are like the ones from the people that were writing there, who were working in post-production. This is where some the
real tea.
There's some real gems in these interviews. I think one just comes to mind, and it's just not a favorite over the other. But Mike Pecorello's interview is really fascinating. Just, not just his experience working at 4Kids, but just he worked in children's television, before going to 4Kids. And I think just his journey and just hearing about the different approaches from different networks is something fascinating to me, especially someone who works in TV.
Oh yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I loved y'all's the episode I watched recently that I was like, wow, this is pretty kind of cool, was Sean Conrad. And he has a crazy background that when he got to that point, that was amazing.
I had no idea. I knew him as an engineer. I didn't know he was this rap god. It never. I'm sorry. I'm choking on something. It never came up, and what a cool thing to find out that this person you knew that long ago had this secret other life.
I know, right? And now, hey, he had, like I said, one of my favorite intros of all time is that One Piece rap. So good. Because it's my friends and I always talk to him about it, and I was like, dude, have you ever seen a series that tells you the whole story that's going on before you watch it? It's like, oh, you gotta watch the One Piece rap.
That's the style. At the time, I think that's that's a concept you don't see in general anymore, not just in anime, but that's very, the
Brady
get
Bunch.
all the information across. Yeah. It's a forgotten art, but there's no denying that 4Kids did a phenomenal job, and we'll on those, and we'll definitely talk more about the music in coming episodes. And guess what? More fascinating stories. So.
Yeah, and I kind of want to know your own opinion, Steve. How bad are you not a fan of the One Piece dub, the 4Kids dub?
Tell them about your podcast.
Okay. It's Tara, do I have permission to talk about the show?
Yes, it's. I didn't want to turn anyone off with the title of it, but yes, go for it.
Well, I remember more attention got on the now defunct 4Kids English dub of One Piece. There was a Twitter account called 4Kids One Piece Out of Context that popped up like 4 years ago, and it was getting spread around. And I remembered all this stuff, but it got laughs out of people. And Zach, from Machi Media, he thought me and my fellow co-host Alex, you guys should do a podcast on this. But he was like, we'll set a Patreon goal. It's if we get this amount of backers and we reach this amount on Patreon, we'll do it. And then it took a while. Then it happened. I'm like, well, I guess we got to do it. So Alex and I watched through every episode of that dub.
How many episodes is it?
It's a little 100, I think.
Oh, really?
112. I'm going off the top of my head right now.
Oh my god! Okay.
And they cut episodes too. They that's not even
what?
That's not even.
Dude.
Yeah.
Poor
so
Steve had to watch every single friggin' episode.
I will say this. I probably there might be some fans of other shows that'd be like, oh, they butchered this, and I'm like, this isn't so bad. It's I think I'm One Piece biased, of course, so I think I'm kind of going in with a little more did they really capture the spirit? And I think also with the show, it's me and my best friends just having a good time. It's we're trying to have a thoughtful critique, but also just not take everything so seriously. There's there's good and bad with the 4Kids dub. I will say that in my honest opinion. It's there was a lot more of it that I'm thought I think because each episode we review 4 episodes at a time. Often not would come out and be like, yeah, this was pretty faithful. They kind of stuck to this is at its core, this is the series, but it has its 4Kids flair. Mm-hmm. Not how I wanted the series to be dubbed, but
it is what it is.
I'll say that.
Get what you got.
I mean, I think I think I asked this question when we wrapped up, and I'm like, let's get this out of the way. Is this the worst dub ever produced? And we both said no. So.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I'm so happy to hear that. Okay. Oh, because but that's true. Because again, the acting wasn't what was the majority of the complaint.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, but again, I mean, you look at some of those voice actors; they're phenomenal. You know.
And
Yeah.
I am totally not trying to save face here. This is what I would constantly say on the show. And I'm like, there's some really talented people on here. It's
See, you know what I think though too, because I totally agree. I did watch 100 and some episodes of the 4Kids though. I think I stopped at 20, but I was like, but like, I think the biggest thing for me was when they add, like, I understand like what you were saying, the small things when they remove things because of they wanting to make it cheaper, that's fine. But when they purposely add, or when they add something big, like that doesn't make any sense, like
what?
like what?
I think the biggest one was the one that sticks out to me specifically is they were originally like supposed to be darts or something that gets impaled. Now I understand that like they got impaled into the person, but they had to change it into sucker darts. So like
poison suction cups.
Yes, poison suction cups. And I'm like, what is that? Like, I mean, and don't get me wrong, like you said, it's for kids and stuff like that. And I understand why they were doing it, but at the same time, I'm like, I just hate when they do that, because it reminds me of the time of I don't know if you ever heard of a thing called with Ocean Dubs, the Ocean Dub Dragon Ball Z.
Oh,
Yeah.
Have you heard of it? Oh, you gotta watch.
We've talked a little bit about Ocean Dub.
Oh gosh, Ocean Dub Dragon Ball Z was like a beast in itself. Like, to say that is better than yeah, because that was the one when they were literally making ad-lib lines inside the dubs so they could say, oh, this is a violent fighting anime, but we can't make it a violent fighting anime. So they made things like they blow up a town, and then they said, oh, thank God it's a Sunday, so no one's inside the city and stuff. I'm just like, what? Like, it doesn't even make any sense.
I mean, the more interesting interview is really with the standards and practice people than it is with 4Kids, because like, again, you get one of them on a bad day and then they're like, absolutely not with the darts. And then their counterpart is there the next day who's like, oh, the darts are fine. So much of this was arbitrary, but 4Kids and Ocean, I'm sure too, don't want to risk a lawsuit.
True.
So that's the crux of it. It's like you kind of have to overcorrect to avoid a lawsuit, which is
it's almost being safe than sorry.
Right. Again, I want kids to be safe. I hope I don't sound callous, but
I'm not. I don't think. I mean, I'm not saying should they have not have removed it. No, they absolutely shouldn't have. Oh no, they should remove. They should do what they needed to do because to make it censored, because they're trying to broaden their horizons for the demographic, which is fine. But however. They should have at least have something available for like, you know,
well, they got
something.
They got there.
They were way too late when that happened.
Were they? I will say that, like, the thing is with the the Ocean Dub episodes, despite all those edits, phenomenal voice cast.
They did have a phenomenal voice cast. I agree. Yeah,
I go to conventions with those guys. Yeah, some of them are great. Yeah.
Those episodes. Sorry, I'm gonna get nerdy here for a second. Those were made for syndication, for cable channels, and the standards and practices there are way more stricter than Cartoon Network because Cartoon Network just they bought the rights to air those episodes, and when it became a huge hit. And then when they start producing more episodes, they're like, okay, we don't have to go as crazy with the edits. Like you could tell. So Tara, hang tight here. I'm gonna get specific.
I love this.
Here.
Yeah.
When they did season 3, I say in air quotes, like the Frieza saga stuff, the amount of changes goes down tremendously. And also at that point, Funimation was producing, and they had an uncut version available. So I wouldn't say it was too late because Dragon Ball Z is doing just fine.
Dragon Ball Z is going to be Dragon Ball Z. Actually, it was funny. I talked to the founder of Funimation about that. Because originally he took a big risk about Dragon Ball Z initially when he first brought it to the localization, and then when I was asking him about it, I was like, wow, so like because he had an issue with Ocean Dubs, not the cast, like you said, not the voice actors, but just the way how things were supposed to be be towards it. But he thought that the biggest issue was the fact that we only had a certain amount of episodes that Ocean Dubs stopped at, and then they looped it. And he was, but then he was like saying that he wanted to see a different kind of aspect to making it as at like less touch than what they did initially from, I believe Ocean Dub was Canadian at the time. I think it was from Canada.
Yep.
And then they were wanting to just say kind of leave it as close to the original as they possibly can. They did have a censored version, but they didn't do they didn't go above and beyond what they did to that level though too.
Yeah, it's a world of difference.
Yeah. But I mean, in my heart, I would love the Ocean Dub, because you're right. The cast, the English cast in the Ocean Dubs was a really good cast. I totally agree with you there. But,
they're phenomenal.
Yeah.
And not saying anything about the people that preceded them.
I was with one of them recently who told me just how great they were.
Really?
Yeah, it was really funny because I've never seen it, but it was a really fun conversation. And he's like, just I don't know what their process. I actually should ask him more questions because I don't know really what the process there was with all of that. But I mean, they were really proud of some of the work that they did on it. So I should probably watch it. Yeah.
Oh well, yeah, but no, I know I digressed way big time on this, but still, well, I do apologize on that. But anyways, before I let you go, one more thing, because folks, you need to listen to 4Kids, this 4Kids podcast. It's an amazing podcast that you need to check about. Check these cool folks out. What is the best way people can check you out, or if they want to see the episodes or support y'all?
Oh, Steve is very good at this part.
Oh, okay. So you can go to our website. That's 4kidsflashback.com. That's the number 4, not the word 4, not FOUR, not FOR. Just the number 4, Kids Flashback.
FORE. You didn't even say not FORE. So
oh, okay. Yeah, we're not
just for those people.
We're not golf fans here.
The number 4.
Yeah. But you could start there, and everywhere you get your podcasts will be linked there. But we're on Spotify, we're on Apple Podcast. But if you're that invested in our show, if you go over to Patreon, if you sign up to our Patreon, we'll post up even more bonus content out there. We're finding some old videos and some old scripts. And if you like the podcast that much and you want to listen to the following, the upcoming episode a week early and without all those pesky ads, we also give you that too. That's on our Patreon. That's patreon.com/4kidsflashback. Same
Is it
thing.
the number 4 or is it the word 4?
It's the number 4.
Oh, okay, good.
We like consistency. So we keep it for, and also and we're on like social media, 4Kids Flashback everywhere, but I think Instagram, right? I think Instagram actually you have to spell out the
well,
word
no,
for.
it's that it comes up if you put in 4, but my username had to be FOUR, so it's confusing. But if you just put in the number 4, and this is why I always have to say it, because certain platforms like if I had to put my first and last name, I would put the number 4. And they're like, that's not your name.
That is so weird that they would do it that way. Oh, that is cool. Yeah, but hey, no, but it's great. No, but guys, definitely check out 4Kids Flashback. I know if you're as old as me and you remember your childhood, you would the stories, you will be like, oh, I remember these people or this thing. Definitely check them out. It's really, really cool. Tara, Steve, thank you so much for geeking out with me today. It was really cool.
Thank
meeting you. Yeah, it was really fun. And folks, if you definitely love the interview that we did today, you can also check it out on any of our podcast services. We're on all services as well: Apple, Google Podcast, Stitcher Radio, or if you just want to go check out our main website, go to our main website. Confreaksandgeeks.com has the full library of all these awesome interviews as well. So once again, this is Davis signing out. Y'all, take it easy.